have a problem and we try to solve that problem with the help of research. I'll give a very simple example. Here you can see sun, right? So the problem is what? The sun is the problem? No, the problem is the heat which is generated by the sun, right? So that heat generated by the sun, that led to the invention or discovery of this hand wala fan, right? You can see this fan which our ancestors used to have. When we when light used even I used to do when when we light used to go out from our places and we used to use this fan, right? Then once this fan was there, this fan had numerous limitations, that it was restricted to one person and you continuously you had to move your hand and all that. So that what that problem of heat still remained, and that led to the invention of the stable fan. Now there was a problem with the table fan also, although some sort of problem was solved. But yes, then when this table fan came, it had a restricted area, no? It used to move around, and it you really need to sit in front of that fan to have the feel the coolness, right? So a problem of heat still remained. And then again the problem is still there. So further research or further invention led to the invention or discovery of this ceiling fan. So ceiling fan was much better than this hand fan, or what you can say table fan. And now came the ceiling fan. Ceiling fan would move fast. It could again circulate air, and you can maintain the speed, but it had its own limitations, right? So it cool the problem of heat still remained. And again that led to the this discovery of this cooler. Now it again had its own limitations. You need to put water into it, right? Then only it will work, no? So that problem still remained, and again that problem led to the solution of this window AC. Now window AC was suitable for shorter, smaller rooms, right, with the limited area. So that window AC, although the problem of heat was sorted out to much extent, right? But then now again it led to invention of this split AC. And nowadays I just see that there are certain those paints which we move which we spread on a roof, and then they make the temperature cool. So the problem of research, it goes on, right? It never stops. So it is the research is actually when we try to solve a particular problem which is existing in the society. Let's say another example. It's a very simple example. Another example is, in your vicinity you see people smoking, right? You see young students smoking. So uh, it it gives you an idea ki what makes these young students who are of the age of 18 to 19 years of age to prone to smoke. So you try to do that research ki what is it that stimulates these youngsters to go for smoking. So again that is also a research. This is a very basic research, that rubbing the sticks together for fun, and then they didn't realize that they were doing the basic research. So what is research? Uh, in nutshell, it is the systematic investigation into and study of materials and sources which are available to you in order to establish facts or reach new conclusions. Like every time we conduct a research, every time we come out with a new invention or a discovery, right? I'll give you another example. The dishwasher, very simple example. Dishwasher was initially flopped in our Indian scenario. Why? It was flop because again people said "Ki, okay, in India we get household maids, or people don't like dishwasher." They were apprehensive of using dishwashers. But when the research was done, then they came to know, the company came to know that the type of grease the Indian utensils have, it is unable to wash these grease. So ultimately the product was modified as per Indian uh, context, and now the dishwashers are very much into the market. So here it is, If we want to see the definition, it's an endeavor to discover new. Means discover new, something new which comes out. Let's say I gave you the example of that paint which we spread on the your roofs, and that leads to the cooling. Or collate old facts, or relate the old facts by scientific study of a subject, right? So research is what we do when we have a question or a problem we want to solve. Let's say you're working in an organization and there's a heavy layout, right? And people are not satisfied, people are demotivated. You want to find out the reasons key, what is it that's making people, very much apprehensive. People are, very much worried. People are very much, they're not up to, the people are not satisfied, and that they're quitting their jobs, right? What makes them, switch over the jobs very frequently? So that is also research. We may already think, we already know, we have the answer in the mind. Maybe the perks are not there, or maybe the leader is not that up to the mark. But still, that we want to verify this. Suppose, let's say, the students, there is a, in a class, there is a there's a massive failure in the class, like the results are not good. But then again, teacher knows why the result is not good, because the paper was out of the syllabus. So, but already the teacher knows that the question paper was out of the syllabus, but still he wants to, or she wants to go the for the scientific scrutiny of the same, right? So scientific scrutiny is, that is going to stabilize them. The scientific scrutiny which a teacher is doing, you find, I want to establish certain facts on the basis of some information, right? So that is also a research. We may think the answer is obvious and common sense, even fine, bachcho ne padha nahi, that is why the results are not good. But then still we want to subject our problem to rigorous scientific scrutiny, so that on the basis of our knowledge, on the basis of some parameters from the certain statistical analysis, we can verify that we what we were thinking, that was right. So the first priority is to formulate your question in your research. So when it comes to formulating the question, I generally tell a very simple story to my students. Do you know? Have you heard the tale of a seahorse? Have you heard? Yes, I just request if somebody has heard the tale of seahorse. Uh, you can unmute yourself and speak out. Do you know what was the tale of? There was a fable, what we call as uh, seahorse and. So, anyways, I'll tell. Once there was a seahorse, and he wanted to look for his fortune. So he went inside, dived deep into the sea, and then he said, "Okay, fine. Um, let me find my fortune." On the way, he went and he found a, octopus. So he asked the octopus that, "Have you seen my, fortune?" The octopus replied, "Yes, I've seen, but it's very far away, right? So what you can do is you can purchase this jet propeller from me, and then you can purchase this jet propeller from me, and that will help you to move fast and move ahead." So yes, so he purchased for 4 cents. He purchased that uh, jet propeller and moved as quickly as possible. So, but again, he was not able to find his fortune. So he dived, and dived again deep, and until he found. Next, he found one shark, and he asked the shark, "Hey, did you see my fortune?" So the shark replied, "Yes, it's there, but then you pay me, remaining 4 cents, and then." You'll find this, scooter wheels, extra wheels also. You have these wheels, and then you move fast. So he again, finished his all 8 cents, and then he got those wheels and moved ahead. Finally, he found a whale, and he said, "Okay, whale, did you see my fortune?" So Whale said, yes, it's there. She just opened her mouth and she said, okay, you please get inside and you will find your fortune. And without thinking, he just went inside the mouth. So this is something which happens in our research also. When we don't know what is the question or what is the problem exactly, so we move left, right, and without coming to the conclusions, we just, you know, land up in the trouble. So first priority is always to formulate your research question, which is very important. Then you figure out how you will answer this question. So for that, just think how others have answered it. So how others have answered it means you need to see the research studies related to this, and whether your proposal fits in what others have done or you are going to find something new out of it. And how will you know that others have answered? See, you have a problem, then you try to figure out how you are going to answer it, how others have answered. And now, since others have answered in some other country, so let me, do this research in my country and see whether the results others have given is that same. And then you can present your answer, right? So important is when you look at the literature, when you look at the some research study, or whenever you look for some this thing we call as research papers or journals, I always suggest the scholars to read thoroughly the last part, that is the limitation and future research directions, because here it is the limitations or the future research directions from where you will be able to formulate your question or formulate your problem. uh, in a research paper, there are number of sections. The last section, discussion, conclusion, and limitations, is something which you have to, which for which you need to lay more emphasis, because it's very important, right? Because see, limitation of a study, that could be your potential research question or research problem which you need to address. So now, in case you are reading the literature, you are searching for the literature, please lay adequate emphasis on your this thing, limitations and future research directions. So now we must understand research. First of all, it helps to take us decisions. Let's say the people are leaving the organization and the manager wants to search why the organization, whether it is a salary alone or some other, or some other reasons, right? So uh, this is which we call as action research, very, which is going to give you very crisp answer, easy answer, that why you should understand research. And it helps you to make the informed decisions. Yes, this is the problem which is existing in my organization. Maybe the fringe benefits are less, or maybe xyz benefits are less, so that is why the people are not stable, they are leaving my organizations. And someone who may need to produce a research in the career or evaluate research in the media, and yes, the research is going to, since you're all into the academics, so the research is going to assist you in the classes, right? It's very important, because in class, when we give the practical examples, when we give the examples of the research, so people do listen. It's not like, we say ki, "ठीक है, like whatever we study in the class, that is not applied anywhere." No, today at, when we are here, there's a number of industry people, they come out with their problems, they come out with their research, and they actually try to find out the answers to the problem which their own industry is having. So this is a very practical research which we are conducting over here. Yes. So the objectives is to portray accurately the characteristics of a particular individuals, right? I'll come to this descriptive diagnostic research studies later, and then it is to determine the frequency with which something occurs, or with which it is associated with something else, and we try to test a causal relationship between the variables. See, if we want to see the characteristics of a particular individual, let's say why Generation Z or Generation Z, or why millennials show a particular behavior, then That would be your descriptive research. Why millennials, or why the, let's say, generation Z is more apprehensive or more concerned about the these herbal products, why they want to search for herbal products. That type of research is, going to give you the characteristics of a particular cohort. One of my candidate did a research like, oh, why this generation Z, or sorry, these why these centennials, they leave the jobs too early. What is the reason? It is very difficult. Why these sentinels, they are not stable, right? So again, frequency with which something occurs is like, is the phenomena happening again and again, and again, what are the repercussions of that particular phenomena, right? Let's say in our Punjab, in this area, there are the cases of crop residue burning, right? So that occurs every year, and every year they, most people, they go asthmatic, right? So what is the frequency with which these events are occurring, and what is the frequency, and what are the solutions to this, what are the policy implications to this, right? And to test a hypothesis of a causal relationship means, suppose if you are using a particular, let's say, mobile application, whether that mobile application is increasing, or it's improving your health, it's improving your weight or something. Let's say, Healthify Me is a very common application which everybody knows, yeah, right? So impact of Healthify Me in reducing the weight, or in gaining the, or in increasing the metabolism, that could be one of the research, which is a causal relationship between the variables, or between the, two, what we call as constructs, or we call as variables, or between the two. Let's say again, if I go to very example, like increase, uh, this IQ, whether the IQ increases with age or not. So that is again, we call it as a causal relationship between the variables. So what is, why is research a valued source of knowledge? Because first of all, it helps us to know the common ways of knowing, from our personal experience, experts, traditions, institutions, etc. We can know that research is a systematized body of knowledge. So then the criteria of good research. See, there are a number of criteria of good research. I think you all are researchers, and you all are into the, maybe you are into the one or the other stage of your research. So here, the purpose of research needs to be clearly defined, right? What is the purpose? Whether the purpose is, to find out the reasons why people are quitting the job, whether the purpose is to find out the reasons why the millennials, they are more prone to this uh, healthify me, whether the purpose is to, find out the reasons why people start, smoking at a very young age. Because what is the purpose of the research has to be clearly defined, right? Then second is, a research procedure used should be defined in a proper detail to permit another researcher to repeat the research, right? See, whatever the procedure, your research is, we always say that research is replicative, right? Today you are conducting one research over a one particular topic. Tomorrow someone will take your topic, and then they will take something somewhere else. Maybe day after tomorrow the third one will come, and he or she will, carry forward your research. I'll give you a very simple example of my own research. I did my research. I started my research in 2012, when even the Amazon had not entered the Indian market. Amazon entered in 2013. It was operating through Jungly. My research was on online shopping. So by the time I was, I took up one model by Venkatesh, and then I added certain more parameters, and exactly deepened that study. So when I was about to finish the study, then this, there was demonetization around 2016, right? So the moment demonetization, my research was like, when I studied the research, I found that people are, paying through pay on delivery, cash on delivery mode of payment is one of the main reason why people are looking for this online shopping, right? So developing cash on delivery in research was really a challenging task, because whenever I used to send my research to some good publishers, they say, okay, what is this cash on delivery? We don't have such construct. So then generating the all the I try to generate all these references for this. I try to participate in number of conferences, try to generate the literature myself, and then I conceptualized it and finally came out with a construct cash on delivery mode of payment, which was indeed, nowadays it's again being studied beyond. So by that, it's being studied and it's being, framed in different models also. So now, but again, establishing a construct was really challenging at that particular time. I still remember. So again, the procedure now I developed a construct cash on delivery, but now somebody else or maybe other researchers are using that cash on delivery mode of payment in their models. You can search out, right? You can go for some forward and backward citation. You can see how many people are now started in using that mode of payment as a main stimulator for online shopping, right? And the 2016, when I stopped, when I was about to submit my thesis, the demonetization came. And one of my colleagues, one of my researcher fellow researcher, what she did, she took up my research and added this demonetization or digital mode of payment as a stimulator or as a mediator. So she picked up that model which I had framed, and now she started working on giving is whole to that concept to digital mode of payment. And then again, the model which was framed by XYZ was taken by ABC, and by adding that particular construct, demonetization or digital mode of payment. So this is how the research procedure goes, right? So it should be carefully planned, because then again, whenever you select your topic, I'll speak something about the selecting the topic. Just remember one thing, that you have to stay with that topic for 3 years, and then finally you need to stay with the topic for 3 years, and then you need to again carry, somebody should be there to replicate your topic, right? So the analysis of data, that should be sufficiently adequate to reveal its significance. And again, we need to check the the data which we collect. We need to check the reliability and validity of the data. Reliability means, if somebody is using that data, let's say after 10 years or 20 years, it's going to give you the same results. And validity is exactly whether it is measuring what it is supposed to measure. Let's say you're measuring ease of use of a particular technology, but does it measures ease of use? It's not like it's not measuring the customer satisfaction or something else, right? So conclusions, then they could be confined to those justified by data, because when you go for data analysis, so the conclusions also are justified by the analysis. And again, conclusions are drawn from the data which you have analyzed. So again, the related is, I think, is that clear? Shall I proceed ahead? Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yes, please. Any problem till here? Anything
No,
you want to ask?
No, ma'am, it's clear.
Or you will ask at the end?
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah, just prepare your FAQs. I'll have another 10 minutes ka extended interactive session for you people only, for your question QA round sort of. So again, the related things are, what is science, scientific method, and the research. So science is a body of established knowledge, right? And ultimate goal is theory generation and validation. So what is a theory? Theory is something, just like Newton came out with a theory, right? Or Einstein came out with a theory like E is equal to mc square mass into what else? E is equal to mc square. So theory is a universal truth, right? Theory is again a set of interrelated variables or constructs. I'll give you a very simple example. I think if you are from the management, then there's Maslow's need hierarchy theory, comprising of five needs or six needs now, again, latest. So Maslow's need hierarchy theory, that is the theory of motivation, right? Even maybe we all have studied in 10th Darwin theory. Darwin ka theory we all have studied in the 10th. So that Darwin's theory was a universal truth that says ki how people evolved genetically, right? So what are the various, that characteristics of a particular species that become obsolete with time. So these are all the well established theories which are being conducted. 2:30. So again, sorry. So again, theory, it is a set of interrelated constructs or propositions that specify relations among the variables, and again a formal logical explanation of some events. Where the some events are include the prediction that how things are related with each other, right? So Newton's third law says what? To every action there's equal and opposite reaction, right? So why? Because it was just Newton ka jo research tha, that was just a basic research. He just wanted to add something to the knowledge, right? The apple is falling down, why it is falling down, why it's not going up. So that is something he was just trying. That Okay. So he was just trying to find out something, new, something which he can add to the body of the knowledge, right? Then again, a formal logical explanations of some events. Um, Events which are occurring. So people who are from the management stream or from the commerce stream, they must have heard, the Maslow's need hierarchy theory, where it comprises of six needs. Earlier it was five needs. So when the Maslow was about to die, he came out with the sixth need, that is the transcendence needs after your self-actualization. So this is a theory which has certain constructs, well-known constructs. So your research is based on a theory, right? I'll give you another simple example. Let's say, the once mentor, he gives again this a problem to three students to find out ki what makes people to beg on streets. Now, street children ka problem tha. It was a problem related to street children. So one was from the sociological point of view. The person who was from the sociology, he or he tried to find out the reasons by using some sociological theories, right? Another was from the management part. He said, ki, okay, maybe they are not rich, cost benefit analysis. Okay, he's just trying to find out. And he tried to relate with the theories which are related to the management stream. And there was one from the education stream, and in that the girl came out with a very surprising that statement that she said that, okay, the people are begging because the school syllabus is not, that forces the people to, or forces the students to, leave the school, right? And then they go to streets and then they start begging. And for some time the researcher was, in a fix, but then he realized that she made an important point. While when we are focusing on the children, parents, when we are focusing on the demographic details, why don't we focus on the schools, right? Why don't we change the syllabus of the schools? Why don't we make the syllabus that, children friendly, so that they can easily adopt? So this is what is, a theory is something, related constructs and propositions that specify relations among variables and predict a phenomena, right? So problem is same here. You please understand, problem is same of the street children, why people are begging. But then everybody is trying to solve that problem from his own angle, right? And everybody is correct, right? So that means, it should be simple and consistent with the observed relationships. Scientific method, it involves rules and processes regarded as the characteristics of or necessary for scientific investigation, right? Means it is a process or an approach to generate a knowledge which is trustworthy and which is valid knowledge. So scientific method is just based on certain assumptions. First of all, it relies on the empirical evidence. It utilizes some concepts, the concepts which are laid in the theory. It is committed to the objective considerations, and ethical neutrality means it aims at nothing by making the adequate and correct statements and results into the probabilistic predictions. And it aims at formulating general axioms, right? So research, so the whole story which I was telling you prior, that help us to summarize, it is a systematic investigation into and study of materials and sources in order to establish facts and reaching out new conclusions. And the way one collects and analyzes the data and the methods which are developed for acquiring this trustworthy knowledge is called your research methodology. The whole research process can be summarized here. Like, you have a question in your mind. I always say, in my previous slides, I mentioned, the question should be clear, the problem should be clear. Now, what is it? You have some question in your mind which you want to solve with the help of your research. You have data for that. You synthesize that data, and again, try to get the information which is in light of your research question, because here important is the research question. See, the problem which is well identified, it is half solved. So always identify the problem with utmost care. If you are in the initial stage of your research, the problem identification should take maximum time, right? Once your problem is identified well, then automatically half of the things are sorted out, you know so please pay maximum attention to the problems, identification or problem, identifying the research questions, what you want to research. So these are the types of research: basic research, applied research. Applied may, again, there's exploratory, conclusive, descriptive, and causal research. So basic research is the where we have the need to know, and the concern is, basic research is also called the pure research, fundamental research, or the discovery research. Right? It's a basic research. It's a research which is related to your science, right? uh, Something you need to find out. See, most of the chemistry students, what they do is they just mix up 2 3 salts and come out with a formulation and try to study the properties of that formulation. And that formulation, if some if that formulation has certain properties, yes, it's okay. Otherwise the whole experimentation is a futile. Even in the science field, we just give certain hormone treatments to the plants or animals just to analyze the some whether the therapy or whether the hormones which have we have given, do they have some impact. So that is your basic research, which is a pure research, discovery research we call it, right? And applied research is a solution or action oriented research that is contextual and practical in approach. Now, exploratory is loosely structured research, and exploratory is something when you're trying to find out for something for the first time. Whenever, see, in our management we always take the standardized scales, right? So when we take standardized scales, we have standardized scales means standardized questionnaires which have been developed by others. So that is not your exploratory. When you develop your own scale for a particular phenomenon, that becomes your exploratory research. I'll give you a very simple example. Like, one of my students is doing research in telehealth or telemedicine, which we call. So we are trying to find out the barriers from the what are the various hindrance factor which prohibit the use of adequate use of telehealth uh, among the people as well as the doctors. Why doctors are not comfortable using telehealth, and why this the patients are not comfortable using telehealth. So what we did, we conducted different interviews, right? And one thing which came out from taking the interviews from both of them was the emotional connect, right? So doctor said ki, I just have, I don't feel the emotional connect with the patient. And patient also replied the same way that yes, we don't have emotional connect with the doctor. So that was considered one as the hindrance factor, which is not being studied, right? Otherwise, risk has been studied extensively in the previous literature, right? Barriers have been studied extensively in the previous literature, but when we took the interviews, the things which came out, that was the emotional connect. So we tried to conceptualize this emotional connect and checked its reliability and validity, and it worked well. It worked well for both the groups. So that part is your exploratory part, where you're trying to explore the problem. And again, you can go to any extent, right? And conclusive, it is a structured where they are we have certain assumptions, like there is like, let's say, a fringe benefit has a positive impact on job satisfaction, right? So such type of research where we are restricting ourselves to two variables, that is your conclusive research. This is the difference, right? uh, of both, and you can just have a look, and I've already explained these. Now, degree of problem identification. In exploratory, you are unaware of the problem, right? Our sales are declining and we don't know why. Would people be interested in our new product idea? So that is, the exploratory research where you are unaware of the problem. Descriptive mean what people, kind of people, they are buying our product, or who buys our competitor's product. Means you are aware of the problem and what features do buyers prefer in our product. And causal is, will buyers purchase a more product in new package, right? And which of the two advertising campaigns is more effective, means unaware to awareness and problem clearly identified, defined or identified. That is makes the things different for exploratory, descriptive, and causal research. So exploratory research, when we have to develop the hypothesis, when we have to develop the assumptions, when we have to give the additional insights, when we have to prioritize, when we have to study some phenomena which is not being already studied. For that, we go for exploratory research. And similarly, there is qualitative and quantitative research also. So qualitative research is, where we try to interpret the social interactions. Like suppose, let's say, uh, I was doing one research with one of my colleagues on this postpartum depression among women. So what was the strategy which built up was that, let's say, postpartum depression means depression after birth of a child among women. So we just went to women and we just talked to them and we try to gather their views. So again, we try to interpret the social interactions, right? So in qualitative, the group is very small, let's say 50 or 60. Data type, generally we use words and images. And analysis, may we go for certain theme identification. Whereas in quantitative, we have the good data set. Suppose if somebody is doing a research on students, or somebody is doing a research on e-learning or online shopping or online learning or adoption of mobile applications. So that time, again, the quantitative analysis has to be there. And researchers and their biases, they are not known to the participants, right? So, a rule of the thumb is quantitative when you want to confirm or test something, qualitative when you want to understand something, right? And nowadays, the trend is using a mixed method approach. Like, we have barriers, we have drivers, and for barriers, we conducted the online interviews. And then again, we for the this drivers, we have the ready-made scales, or we call it standardized questionnaires. For that, we use those questionnaires. So this is something which I've already explained, develop the hypothesis, and then these are the examples of your descriptive studies. Important is, descriptive is of two types, longitudinal and cross-sectionals. Uh, a cross-sectional design involves collection of information from any given sample only once, right? So generally field studies or survey research. In our management stream, most of the research which we conduct is the cross-sectional research. And in longitudinal design, a fixed sample of population elements is measured repeatedly on the same variables, right? Uh, I'll give you this is a diagram will explain that, in cross sectional sample is surveyed only once, and longitudinal way sample is surveyed twice, right? And the shorter form of sample longitudinal is the time series. I'll give you an example. We conducted a research when there was lockdown. Online classes they were not started in our university. We were just giving the trainings and all that. So again, before the conduct of online classes, we conducted a research. Ki fine, have you taken the online classes earlier? So those who had taken, they were eliminated from that particular area. And they were not, we didn't gather the data from them. And those who have already conducted the online classes, so we took their data, right? We took their data. Actually, they were not actively involved in the online classes. Maybe when the online classes became a routine, that is, let's say after one month, again the same questionnaire was formulated to find out the difference, before conducting the online classes and after conducting the online classes. What was the difference in the perceptions? It was a research paper published in Information Delivery and Discovery. You can read through internet. So we measured the perceptions of both the groups, and then we came out with the conclusion there was a lot of difference. So ideally, when the duration was reduced, point is, when the duration was reduced to 1 to 2 months, then we call it as time series, right? So this is the descriptive research surveys. It includes a panel, the group of people, observational data, and to describe the characteristics of some groups such as consumers, salespeople, organizations, and market areas. We use the descriptive research. Determine the perceptions of products. Suppose you are using herbal products. What is your perception regarding this? How to determine the degree of marketing variables are associated, and to make predictions. And causal is, does a change in X causes a change in Y? And it is mostly the experimental, and all the laboratory experiments and field experiments are being conducted here. So again, cause and effect, which are the independent variables and which are the dependent variables. So generally experimental studies, they go for causal studies. Let's say I give you example like how whether the fringe benefits that motivate people to stay long, or let's say the recognition that motivates people to stay long in the organization, something like that. So this is again uh, exploratory could be wandering around or traveling around the world, because there's absolute ambiguity, and descriptive is planning a trip to some place which is relatively certain. So yes, now I'll speak something about the topic. Like, first of all, whenever you select your topic, is your topic feasible? Is a researchable topic, right? Is it appropriate? And again, related to this, all your research questions are stated clearly, and does the topic relates to your field of study relevance? So whenever you select your topic, whenever you select your problem, look for these things key, whether you have necessary skills to conduct a research on this topic. Are you you know ready to move? Because if somebody wants to do a research on, let's say, fish market, right? So do you have enough time, or do you have enough funds, so that you can move around and go to the coastal areas and collect the data from the fish market? So this is important. Whatever the topic you select, let's say now if somebody says, okay, I want to do the research on COVID. COVID is, gone. Now the research on COVID would be futile. Even the journals have also stopped taking the papers based on the COVID. So COVID came, COVID went. So again, it's not a researchable topic. Yes, you can write a research paper and publish it somewhere. But again, if you say, if I after 3 years, maybe the most of people, they just will just remember the COVID, and it's, long term, it's not going to, pay you, because the topic is nowadays it's over research, in fact, right? So important is whatever the topic you select. I'm saying it this again, whatever the topic, whatever the area you are looking for, please take the area, because you have to stay with that area for 3 long years, right? So these are the tasks which are involved in the design, when you select the topic and research, because you'll design whether it is exploratory, you will find the scaling measures, you will construct a questionnaire, specify the sampling process or sample size, or develop a plan of action. This is a research process. You start with, some observations, some curiosities there. Then again, you define the problem, you build a theoretical and conceptual framework. Do you know what is the difference between the theoretical and conceptual framework? I'm using this word. What is a theoretical framework? Anyone can answer. What's a theoretical and conceptual framework? Which we spoke about the theories, no? Okay, fine. I'll give you a very simple example. See, yes, let's say your mother has got a certain recipe for tea, right? Tea means, or coffee, let's say. Your mother has got a certain recipe for coffee where she puts a specific sugar, some, a coffee powder or something like that, right? And she has got certain, technique of, getting it leathery coffee. So if you imbibe that technique from your mother, right, the way she's making coffee, you're making the coffee in exactly the same way, then that is your conceptual framework, right? Sorry, yes, that is your theoretical framework. Sorry, it was just misread. Theoretical, when you are taking the theory of somebody else and using it in your own research, that is your theoretical framework. But when you are, let's say your mother makes coffee, but she adds too much of sugar, right? So you say, okay, why I don't want to add too much of sugar. Let me add some less sugar. Then for leather also, you say, okay, why she's beating with that spoon, let me beat with mixie, right? That means you are taking the original, that framework of your mother has been altered by you, right? By modifying it, by adding less sugar. So that becomes your conceptual framework. In one line, when you take when you take the framework which is already established by somebody, so that becomes your that becomes your theoretical framework. And if you are adding some variables to that, that becomes your conceptual framework. Is that clear? Yes, is it clear? Shall I proceed?
Yeah, yeah, ma'am.
Is that clear? What is the difference between a theoretical and conceptual framework? I don't know why everybody's muted. Okay. Anyways, so then we develop the hypothesis, develop operational definitions for the variables. Although this is beyond the scope of this workshop, maybe some other workshop in some other time I'll explain these. You took the sample, you took the some sample, and then you go for data collection, and then you test that data, and finally you refine a particular thing. It's the same thing. So now important is, how to generate or how to develop a topic, right? So the two important things which you come to my mind is, first is the rational thinking and creative thinking. Rational thinking is, when you you use your interest and you try to figure out your own interest. You use the data which is available and previously published projects in your area, and based on those previously available solutions, you try to find out like what on what topic I should start researching. Because let's say you have the topic of online shopping, fine, I want to do research on online shopping. Then what you will do is you'll just sit down, you'll find out the research papers, and then you will find out, okay, fine, so these are the research papers which I already have, what they have done and what they have left. And what they have left, that is there in the limitation and future scope. So limitations and future scope may you keep on jotting down the ideas, and finally you say, you come to the conclusion, yes, 23 may, there is a research on xyz, but people have not covered mnop part, so let me focus my research on mnop part, right? And creative is you sit down, list down the ideas, but here it is your personal this thing, personal preferences, and I want to do research on this, I want to study this, and you start brainstorming, thinking, "Ki, how can I do?" Right? So rational is important, because always try to be rational in your research. Then you, once you have identified the topic, then you refine the ideas. You can conduct a preliminary study also. You can talk to your colleagues, you can talk to the industry people, fine, I want to do solve this problem in your industry. So I you this will help you to refine your topic or concise your problem. It the problem takes a funnel approach. Let's say people come in the first day, they come, okay, I want to do in the marketing. When they do attend the coursework classes, okay, I want to do conduct research on customer satisfaction, then they narrow it down again, I want to do the research on customer satisfaction with respect to mobile applications, right? So this is how they have refined their idea. The idea which was at the start of the coursework, I want to do research in marketing, that has come to the customer satisfaction using mobile applications, right? So ideally, there was a story also, Goldilocks story, uh, where she had three bears and all that. So in same way, you try to apply Goldilocks test. Suppose you are reading an article, and if you find it too easy, that means you have read it a lot of time before. You understand the story very very well. You know almost everything, and that means it is too easy. So don't take that topic, right? It's very easy for you. That means already most of the research has been already conducting on this. Then there are, if you find more than 5 words on a page which are difficult to understand, you are confused what is happening most of the time. And when you read it, it sounds difficult to comprehend. That means it is too hard. Don't take, you won't be able to conduct research, right? So pick up a research paper related to your domain and try to apply Goldilocks principle. Yes. So is the topic new to you? Do you understand most of the things? You understand most of things, but there are some new concepts on which you want to develop. And when you read, your thought process has been provoked. Fine, there are certain problems which I think I can solve with the help of my research. So here it is, it's just right. So go ahead and move, proceed with this test. uh, what I suggest at this moment, I don't know you are at what stage of your research, but yes, uh, try to read literature, try to make a ella tracker. Tracker means just read a research paper, try to bifurcate in sections. I generally give one excel sheet to my students, so that they can write on that. I see if it is there, I can open this excel sheet for you people also. Mm, I don't think so. I'll be able to open it. Okay. I don't think so. I'll be able to open it because I need to restart my system. But yes, you may please note down the headings if you wish. Maybe I'll send it to the IoT people. They can share it with this you. That what we do is we divide the research paper into various sections. The first section is title of the paper, authors, APA for citation, that is generally we get from the Google, theory applied, main findings, limitations, and future scope, right? And if you can place that hyperlink, so the moment you start reading those research papers and you can start putting those research papers, so it will help you out. It will help you to identify the gaps at least, right? So this is what I wanted to, show in this session. I think I have covered my session. Any questions? I'm open to QA. In case you have any questions, you may please ask those. Yes.